Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello, and welcome to the Forgot to Save podcast, a weekly podcast where Stone and I get together and we play a game that had some sort of impact on the industry, or maybe it just really made its rounds throughout the community, and for some reason we never got around to playing. Stone, it's good to see you. Or hear you.
It's always great to talk to your hearing.
Perfect. So we... Just in case listeners weren't here for your last list, rather, because this is from your list, we settled on not the game that I originally chose. I was allowed a mulligan.
Sure.
And remind me, it was...
Panzer Dragoon.
Panzer Dragoon. I was curious and I was intrigued. And then I decided, you know what, though? Gun to my head, Hi-Fi Rush sounds a lot more enjoyable.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was a huge collection of games that I thought you would enjoy.
Yeah.
And if one spoke to you more than the other, I'm happy to accommodate.
Yeah. And that's, I think, why we have the list. It's fun because it kind of keeps us guessing, but then it also does give us different avenues that we can go down if one decides not to fit the bill. Because the idea isn't that we're going to get to every game on these lists.
Sure.
But hopefully, we never really talked about our motivation behind this, but hopefully it's to find some games that we truly missed out on. And turns out, there are these hidden gems for us personally that we can go back and kind of add to our repertoire, our gaming experience, if you will.
Yeah. And as a side note, it's just been really fun to hang out every week.
It has.
I think it's been like a chill kind of thing we do, and we always have something to talk about, which is great.
And this is now, I believe, episode 8, yeah? So 2 months?
Yes, sir. 2 months
Look at that.
worth.
Happy 2-month anniversary.
Hey, same to you.
That's the potato anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that.
I never keep track of those.
No, it's hard, but most of them are root vegetables.
Are they?
In the podcast realm, yeah.
What root is paper from?
The tree root.
Oh, just general tree.
Just general tree root. Tomorrow is National Tater Tot Day, though. I don't know if you know that.
No, you know what tomorrow is?
National Tater Tot Day.
No, better. Persona Day. Happy Persona's Eve to you.
What's happening tomorrow in the world of Persona?
Persona 3 Reload. The remake of the third game is coming out. Now, the third game, story-wise, is my favorite.
Okay.
And also, I love Persona 3 for a lot of reasons. The silliest of reasons is because, it is literally, the character's, literally my age, and in the grade I was in at the time it's supposed to take place. So it's, the style I love, the technology they have, the flip phones, the pseudo wireless headphones, everything about the sights and sounds of Persona 3 I love. The thing is, it was just plagued by a lot of really poor quality of life stuff because it was the first 3D Persona, but now it's been completely remade with all the quality of life that we get in 5 and more modern Personas, and I'm so excited.
Wow, I'm sure that I knew about this. There are certain games and certain series that when I hear news about, unfortunately, just goes in one ear and out the other. And I think Persona is that. Just because I know how much you absolutely rant and rave about them, and I've never even booted one up.
Yeah, the thing about listening to somebody talk about Persona is that everyone never shuts up about Persona. So why would you want to get into it? It's the same reason I've never watched JoJo, because people don't shut up about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I don't want to be one of those people. But I am one of those people for Persona. But
hey, everyone in the comments right now, stop what you're doing, pause the video. I want you to put your favorite JoJo moment in the comments, please and thank you.
And actually, it's a little bit of not a bummer. It's an embarrassment of riches almost, where it's there is 2 games I have been following. One, have you heard of Grand Blue Fantasy?
Yeah, I saw Grand Blue Relink.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a launch title for the PS4.
Wow.
So I've been following, not launch title, but I think it was the first or second year into the PS4's life. I've been following it for a while. And I was I want that. The fighting game came out, It looked really fun. It didn't seem for me, but I watched a lot of people stream it, and it was like really fun to watch. And I was like, I want that RPG though. And then the RPG finally gets a date, and it's the day before Persona 3. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get Persona. So it came out today. I haven't played it. And then also I'm a big fan of the show Jujutsu Kaisen, and they just had a fighting game that came out today as well. And I was like, I want that game, but it's right before Persona 3. It's not happening.
The early part of this year, no matter what kind of gamer you are, it is stacked.
It is. We said this before, but like we're still at the end of the wave of COVID titles.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think these games were probably slated for the winter, like holiday release, and just didn't hit it. But it's whatever.
But still trying to sneak it into that fiscal year.
Yeah, I think Jujutsu Kaisen also has to like play around the show. So they had to wait till the season was over to actually release it.
That's fair, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little different. But Grand Blue Fantasy, that just kept getting delayed. I think Platinum started it. I don't know if they still have it. I think it went from Platinum back to Cygames because, like, as far as I understand, with my extremely limited knowledge, Grand Blue Fantasy was like a gacha game in Japan made by Cygames. And then they made a fighting game based off the characters. But this RPG was already in the works for a long time.
Wow. So just looking that up, looks like back in 2016 when it was announced, Platinum and Cygames actually were collaborating on it.
Yeah.
And then in 2019 is when Platinum Games pulled out and it was just Cygames developing.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, yeah, it's crazy. Also, I think Persona, now that we're talking about it, is probably a COVID wave game as well. Because one, they had their 20th anniversary not too long ago, and they were like, it's going to be a whole year of Persona announcements, and it was terrible. The whole year was terrible. They did nothing. And 3 is coming out, and it's on Unreal Engine 4, which is not a huge deal. It's still a really good, reliable engine.
Sure.
But it's just like, it seems like this was supposed to be part of the Persona 20th anniversary.
Right.
And it was just delayed, and they never said anything.
Huh. Okay.
But sorry, this is a lot about me, but what have you been playing, Blue?
That's the thing. I was hoping you'd just keep going. This week has been a bit of a blur, bit of a busy week. Work was busy. We had a birthday, which is a good thing to celebrate, obviously. But the only thing that I've had any time to play actually has been Hi-Fi Rush, which is going to be good for our conversation today. But yeah, no real just downtime chill games. Not that this is a stressful game by any stretch, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm trying to think, did I play, and we busted out the Ring Fit Adventure for the Switch.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that in some time.
That's a fun one.
I didn't play it. I watched Ridley play it, and I feel like just by being there, I get the benefits of the exercise.
That's exactly how it works, yeah.
It is. Magic the Gathering, still playing Magic, just casually at home.
Happy you're sticking with it.
Yeah, it's fun. Probably. Will we go tomorrow? Yeah, we might. We might pop down to the shop tomorrow and play a couple rounds with the season pros. But no, it's been game-wise, it's been quiet. But like I said, this first part of the year is stacked. March 22nd. Notably, at least for people who are into the action RPG genre, Souls-likes, we have Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 on the same exact day.
Oh, yeah.
And Rise of the Ronin, so we just had a state of play. By the way, again, pulling back the curtain, it is February 1st right now. You probably knew that because I said tomorrow is National Tater Tot Day. So obviously you would have just extrapolated.
Right, absolutely. But who wouldn't have?
We had the state of play yesterday, and we can just talk about that for a couple minutes. To me, just personally, it wasn't the most exciting, only because there was only a couple titles that I thought, yeah, I'll probably get around to playing that. Death Stranding 2, looking as Kojima as ever.
Yeah.
I need to get around to finishing the first one, but I am excited for the second. That looks very interesting. Rise of the Ronin looks very cool.
It looked like an arcadey version of Ghost of Tsushima.
It did, very much so. I saw one person say, "Oh, looks like we're finally getting Assassin's Creed in Japan." I thought,
no.
In what In what way? Because you can climb stuff? Like,
yeah, didn't you see him on a roof? That's Assassin's Creed, bro.
oh, you do go on roofs in Assassin's Creed.
There was some colonial architecture. Assassin's Creed,
yeah,
what up?
and killing.
Yeah.
Assassinating. So, nailed it.
And I'm sure he had a creed. Oh, no, wait, he doesn't. He's literally a Ronin.
But it does look, like you said, very, very arcadey. Takes the realism out of Ghost of Tsushima and just leaves the more fantastical. But I think that looks really interesting. Dragon's Dogma 2, I can't wait. I am already planning one more run through Dragon's Dogma before that releases. Absolutely cannot wait. As long as they can just let you tone down the pawn chatter so it is not their kind hates ice and fire both. Oh, it's still there for sure. And when they actually remade or remastered, whatever they called it, Dragon's Dogma for the next generation of consoles, they at least updated it so that you could turn it off. But I like some of it. In fact, some of it is really cool. Can I just gush over Dragon's Dogma for like a minute?
Please.
Okay. So Dragon's Dogma has this pawn feature. If you don't know what the pawn feature is, when you start the game, you create your character, and then very shortly after that, you create an AI sidekick called a pawn. Now, this pawn can be any number of classes, and as you adventure with your pawns, and you can have a group of up to 3 of them, they learn things. So when you go to new areas, they learn about that area. When you fight enemies, especially if you fight enemies in certain ways, they will learn things. For example, there's a Hydra that you fight pretty early on, and there are explosive barrels, and if you get the Hydra to eat and swallow one of the explosive barrels, you can see like the bulge in its throat, and then if you shoot it, you can actually cause it to explode in its neck. It's not easy to pull off, but if you do it and your pawn witnesses it, they learn that. And what's really cool is that it has this asynchronous online feature where you can let other people bring your pawn into their party. And if they bring your pawn into their party with that knowledge and then they get to their part, that pawn will actually say, hey, why don't you see if you can get it to swallow this barrel? Like, that's a really brilliant mechanic. But
are they worried about getting sued by the Sonic team for copying the Chow Garden?
I'm not familiar with this.
Then that is lost on you.
Well, it is, but it's not going to be lost on. I want to be part of this inside joke. What is the Chow Garden?
It's not. The Chow Garden is a very rudimentary. So it started in the first Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast. There was a little virtual pet that would play in your virtual memory card. You know, the Dreamcast had the one with the screen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You could like raise a Chow and their stats and stuff, but you could collect items in game to give to the Chows in the Chow Garden, and then it would be like AI you would raise up, and they would have different stats. And then in Sonic Adventure 2, you could take him to like races and fights and stuff. So it was like just a very primitive AI that you could raise stats for. It was a very stupid joke. I want to be very clear. It's not even worth me explaining.
Do you feel better now that you've explained it in great detail?
No. It was bad when I said it, and it's bad when you push back. Never push back.
This has made it all worth it.
It is terrible.
So all that being said, the pawn system is extremely cool. I'm glad they haven't abandoned it. A lot of people want this to be online.
One.
Yeah, it was. To me, I don't know of any other game that had that exact system or even a system quite like it other than the Chow Garden. But
yeah, I may have missed when you said it, but did you also say, don't you get rewards for how many people use your pawn?
Yeah, so the longer your pawn is with another player, they will come back, and you can, when you send a pawn away, you can give them a parting gift. So you can give them exactly one item, and sometimes they'll come back with rocks or rotten fish. But every now and then, someone's like, "Hey, this guy was actually really cool. Here is a rarefied, 3-star weapon, something that you haven't found yet." And they can come back with all sorts of stuff. But they also come back with rift crystals, which is one of the currencies in Dragon's Dogma used to purify some of the higher end endgame gear, which can get very costly. And farming it from enemies is abysmal. But if you get a pawn that people want to bring out with you, like my good friend Silverius from my playthrough, Uh, they will sometimes come back with a boatload. The last time I loaded it up, I had 17 million Rift Crystals.
Yeah.
Normally, if you find Rift Crystals, like if you kill an enemy, you may get a chance of getting 100. So
Yeah, it's awesome.
I am quite wealthy in the Rift Crystal realm, but I'm very excited about Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, when the PC Dark Arisen, is that the PC port?
So Dark Arisen it's not just the PC port, but when they released the DLC Bitter Black Isle, that was called the Dark Arisen.
Oh yeah, well when that came out, I remember the Discord being like people posting pictures with Silverius.
Yes, yeah,
and it was a cool thing everyone was sharing.
It's still fun because I was still every now and then I'll just log on and I still see at least a dozen people have been adventuring with him this whole time. So Silverius will be making a triumphant return in Dragon's Dogma 2. So
I can only
be on the
hope
lookout.
so. I'd be disappointed if he didn't.
Right? It's gonna be fun. So
was Dragon's Dogma 2 at one point the famed Deep Down by Capcom?
It was so Deep Down and Scalebound. The teams came together and they said, "Listen, you know that guy who makes Devil May Cry? I bet we can get him to go in on this."
It's so funny because yes, it is literally the guy.
Yeah, it is.
He left Capcom to go to Platinum, and if they joined underneath him to make Scalebound, that would be crazy. Wow. Okay, what a tangent. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
What you said about Dragon's Dogma is very interesting. The trailer looked really awesome, and one thing I have to say is that they showed you climbing on a lot of monsters and stuff, and it seems like they just did away with any kind of normally in action games on any other character there's like collision, and the surface is like slippery and it'll push you off so you can't stand on it. It looks like from the trailer in Dragon's Dogma 2 that they just turned that off. You could just stand on and mount any enemy, it looked like.
I'll have to go back and watch the trailer. There certainly are times when obviously the physics just don't make sense in the first one, because climbing's not new to the second. It was present in the first as well, especially with some of the bigger dragons and what have you. But there's also, it's all stamina based, just like most climbing mechanics are. And when you're standing on top of, let's say, a Cyclops, you can stand as long as you're on like a shoulder or top of the head. But as soon as they start moving, your stamina plummets and you topple off.
Oh, okay.
So I think instead of maybe going with the like slippery surface motif or even just the steep angles, they just went with more stamina consumption. Maybe that was easier to code.
Yeah, and it was cool. They had that ice spell that like literally made steps.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That I don't know what vocation I'm going to go into in Dragon's Dogma 2, but the sorcerer is getting a really, really strong pull for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's so cool. But state of play. So those two games, Silent Hill 2, it looked obviously so much better than the original Silent Hill 2, but the animations and sound design
did not look good.
Not at all.
Okay. I didn't play the original, but I know people love the Silent Hill franchise, and when I saw that I was like, this doesn't look good.
No. Like
okay,
if you just
if I was just an outsider.
No, I think if you were to take some and make screenshots, like, wow, this looks really nice compared to the original, but then you start letting it play and think, oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't look good. So I don't know what the plan is with the Silent Hill franchise. I know fans have just been clamoring for news forever, but they did something pretty cool though. Last night.
Yep.
Right. I mean, what is it called? Silent Hill: The Short Message?
Yeah. I think it's something short message, a short message or something.
And it is, I haven't played it. I do plan on giving it a go. I guess it takes around 4 hours, and it is a completely free to play experience in the Silent Hill universe.
Yeah. I thought that was really neat. Tech wise, I also had some issues with that, but for being a free game, I mean, more power to you. Right. Something just to wet your whistle before Silent Hill 2 the remake comes out. Was there anything else that you saw that you were kind of excited about? I was not expecting the Sonic and Shadow game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sonic Generations, I know it's like a kind of a cop-out, but it's probably my favorite Sonic game because it's every Sonic game, just the best levels of every Sonic game.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, that was Sonic Generations, and this seems like a sequel to that, but focusing on Shadow, which is a little weirder to me because Shadow's character is like whiplash tonally. Like it's never consistent. So I don't really know what it'll entail, but I'm down to play another Sonic Generations. That's fun. And go ahead.
No. Sorry. All I was going to say was I haven't played a Sonic game since the Genesis era, honestly and truly. So it was cool seeing, like, I saw some of the Green Hill Zone in there, but then seeing them just transition into the newer, the more modern, city-based and whatnot. How does that work? Are they completely separate stages? Does it actually morph into each other through gameplay, or is it like Mario Odyssey, where you just go to different worlds and they have different themes?
No. The way it works is there is Sonic, modern Sonic, and classic Sonic exists as two separate characters in the game.
Oh, okay.
And every zone is a popular level from a different game. So like Green Hill Zone is like the first game. And there's Green Hill Zone Act 1 and Act 2. And Act 1 is the modern version where it's 3D, like Sonic from behind running his perspective, modern. And then Act 2 is the classic side-scrolling. You're playing as classic Sonic, and it's more vertical, and there's a bunch of puzzles and stuff, just like the old-timey Sonic games. And that's great because levels that were never in 3D from old games get 3D versions, and levels from new games that never got 2D get cool 2D versions.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's worth playing because it has something for everyone. Like Sonic Generations is really good because it's just the best of collection, you know?
That isn't... So Sonic Generations, looking at... Wow, that's from 2011.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was on the Xbox 360.
Yeah. Okay, 3DS, PS3. Since. Oh, it has been? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not expecting a sequel. You know, they moved on to Sonic Mania. And
right,
then,
yes.
And then they just did Sonic Frontier. So they've been, like, doing a lot of stuff. But I'll say it, okay? This is an opinion I have within my friend group for a long time and get no pushback on. So maybe I think a lot of other people might disagree. But I will say that Sonic has been the face of mediocrity for 30 years. The games that they put out for Sonic, with the exception of like 1, 2, and 3 on the Genesis, have just been aggressively average or worse.
Okay.
Just a mediocre string of games nonstop. And I say that loving Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and obviously like Sonic Generations, and there's a few 3D games sprinkled in there, but I am not disillusioned as to the quality of them. I think Sonic is the face of mediocrity. I have no idea why Sonic is so popular.
Would you say that Sonic is the Fast and Furious of video games?
I would not, because Fast and Furious at least has... I've once heard somebody describe Fast and Furious as adult cartoons and got it. But you can't... If you describe Sonic as video game cartoons, I say that doesn't make sense. Okay. You know? There's not a... You can't give me an elevator pitch of Sonic that makes it sound good with my experiences. But you can give me an elevator pitch of Fast and Furious that will reframe my experience.
Okay, all right, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Speaking of Fast and Furious, I actually don't have a segue for that at all. But
love it.
So Sonic. Now, when you were watching, because I was out and I couldn't watch it live, I had to watch it later. You texted me about there was one surprise you just didn't think I'd be too excited. Was that the Silent Hill? Oh, that was Sonic. Okay.
Yeah, I was shocked that it happened. I didn't think you would care, but I wanted to let you know, like, okay, it's not as like mid as I was expecting it to be. The other thing I was excited to see... Oh, sorry.
No, please, go.
One other thing I was excited to see, which I think you might be excited about too, the Until Dawn, remake.
Yes.
But port to the PS5.
And PC.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I hate horror games. I hate the feeling of isolation. But I absolutely love Until Dawn, and there's one reason why. Do you know what it is?
Is it because it is the most fun horror game to play with a group of people, everyone controlling their own character?
That is exactly it. The characters are with a group of people. I'm with a group of
Yep.
people. It is so tremendously fun, and you get to blame each other
Yes.
for failures that are not your own.
Exactly. Either a bad decision or a missed quick time event, and they end up, well, I won't spoil anything. It's fantastic.
One of the most guilty I've ever felt is we played the one that takes place in Afghanistan.
Okay, yeah.
House of Ash, maybe?
That sounds right.
I got someone else's character killed very quickly. And every time it would have been their turn, I was just like, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. But also, okay, yeah, I don't do horror. I'm a very big pansy. I'm afraid of everything. So I could never play those games alone. But we had a group of friends come over, and I knew House of Ash like took place in Afghanistan during, the post 9/11 war.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, I have to hype myself up because I can't just jump cold into horror, right? And, everyone came over for Halloween. We wanted the lights off, blah, blah, whatever. We had a group of 5 people, and I was like, first, we're going to put on Fortunate Son by CCR. And we're just like, all right, well, let's do shots while we listen to Fortunate Son to pump ourselves up for the House of Ash playthrough. So
did it work?
Yeah, of course it did. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do for Until Dawn, but the first time I ever played Until Dawn, we literally started when the sun went down and then played Until Dawn. We like literally beat it as the sun was coming up.
Well,
super cool.
the obvious choices to get ready is to just rewatch all of Heroes.
Oh yeah, because Hayden Panettiere. is in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That'll get you in the mood.
I love the guy that played. I forget the character's name in Until Dawn now, but he plays Grant Ward in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh,
I used to make
right.
jokes all the time. He was like my favorite character when that show was airing. So I would make jokes to my friend all the time, like, oh, they should put Grant Ward in the movies. Not actually wanting that. But then every time there was, and he would come up on screen, it would just be, Agent Grant Ward's here. We're safe.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
So he played Michael.
Yeah, and that was Ram. What's the guy's name? He's huge now. He was the villain in the new last Bond movie, but they got him in Until Dawn like right before he did Mr. Robot.
Malik.
Rami Malek.
Rami, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They got him like he was in Until Dawn like right before he blew up from Mr. Robot. So like now he's somebody, but back when I played, I had no idea who he was.
Isn't he also in that The Rookie? Brett
You're
Dalton.
the only one that watches The Rookie.
I'm not. There's dozens of us. Is he not
Everyone
the
just
same
watching
guy?
for Nathan Fillion.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
It's
Wow,
a
we've
silly
gone
shit.
way off
What?
track. Anyway, those were my 2 ones I was excited for.
Did you
but-
start recording yet?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. So that's on me.
All right, we'll start over.
So how about that state of play?
Yeah, if you were a horror fan, this was the conference for you. Like there was
Yeah.
horror nonstop. I think there's a lot of great stuff in that genre coming up. And what a confusing announcement at the end with Kojima.
What? Yeah.
This is so the more they've said about it, the more silly it sounds to me, but they're like, "Oh, it's going to be so realistic looking, it's going to blur the lines between a movie and a game." I was like, "I don't care. Just show me the gameplay
Right.
footage when
That
you're ready."
means nothing to me.
In 3 years, when you're ready to show off the first glimpse, then fine. But until
Yes.
then, shut up. I'm sorry. I don't care.
So one other thing that was interesting, I'll be honest, I wasn't excited about it, but Judas, do you remember that trailer? Mm-hmm. So I'm at least intrigued just because this is from the guy behind BioShock.
Yeah.
Right? Ken Levine?
Yeah, it's always nice to get another game to make fun of libertarians, so I'm interested. But,
Is that a genre?
no, it's a common thread in all the BioShock games.
Gotcha.
It's everything is a libertarian paradise that's just been obliterated.
All right. Well,
But yeah, it seems like it's a statement on the state of surveillance, which I think is interesting. But then when they showed the gameplay, it was kind of just BioShock rehashed, which is hard to get excited about because that was exciting back when it came out, but it's been a long time since then.
has been a long time.
So you have to do something a little bit more exciting. So hopefully it was just The trailer seemed to be focused on the story, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully as more is revealed for that game, it becomes more exciting. But as of now, again, I sleep.
Yeah, to me, it was more exciting just seeing him, because BioShock, definitely the first one, had a real impact on the gaming world. And it's a phenomenal game. So it's fun to see him come back with something else. But yeah, I do just hope it's not another BioShock with a different coat of paint.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing a forgot to save on BioShock now, it's like mixing your abilities with the environment was so groundbreaking.
Yes, yeah.
But now it's like, except if you're releasing a new Zelda, nobody cares because it's just the standard. But somehow when Nintendo does it for the first time, it's worth.
If they're wet, they'll take extra electricity damage.
Man, I just realized I'm really coming off as a stickler here. But that is not my intention to be such a hater.
I don't think that's by design. I just think you're a stickler.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, you ever just look in a mirror, not say anything, just stare deep into your own eyes?
I don't believe in reflections, so I refuse to have anything reflective in my house. So what I do is, like, when I get a new monitor, I take like nice 400 grit sandpaper. And I make sure I get it.
I winced at that. It is also ironic to say that on a podcast literally about like reflecting at games we never played before.
Ayo.
It's all about reflection.
We're getting kind of meta here.
All right. Anything else to say about the state of play?
Not even a little.
Okay. I have something really tiny that might not interest you. If not, we'll move on quickly. Did you hear anything about the monetization in the new Halo season?
Not at all. No.
Okay. The new Halo season started on Tuesday. I played. We have a group of people that plays in the Discord, and it's super fun having a full stack. We ended up playing a lot of PvE content, and it was like so exciting. We had a lot of fun playing it as soon as it came out. But the Halo has changed their seasonal format, so they're no longer doing seasons. They're doing very small events called operations, and they used to have a battle pass with 100 tiers in it. A lot of those tiers were kind of junk or repetitive items, but it got better as time went on. Now they've moved away from that, so much so that the new update, which is a major update to the game, isn't even called Season 6. It's just called CU29, which stands for Content Update 29, and it seems a lot like 343 is just throwing in the towel. It feels a lot like they're done with it. But people, this is why I asked, because it's gone pretty popular. This, the nickname people have for it, Cosmetic Update 29. Because the 20 tier battle pass, quote unquote, which is now called an event pass for a limited time event, which is the new season, it is completely free if you want to go in and unlock everything. But you can pay 500 in-game credits, which in America is equal to $5, and you get a special skin that makes your assault rifle the classic, like Halo 1 assault rifle.
Yeah,
and you unlock, like, you get another challenge slot so you can finish the pass quicker. That's pretty much it. And it makes it so it never goes away. So, like, if you're a free player and you miss the time to play this update, it's still there if you pay $5 to go back, but otherwise you miss it, it's gone. But it added a brand new armor coating. Not armor coating, sorry. An armor core, which is the Mark IV armor, which is from the RTS Halo Wars. And it added a bunch of stuff from Halo Wars. But if you pay for the pass or not, you get the Mark IV armor core for free, and you can unlock in the pass one set of armor additionally. So you can get a second helmet, a second set of left and right shoulder pads, a second set of knee pads, and a second chest plate. And that's it.
Oh.
For the entire 20 tiers. But in the shop, there are a total of 8 brand new sets of armor. And this update was very clearly a battle pass that was supposed to be a full battle pass, completely stripped for parts and sold individually in the store. And if you want everything that would have been in this very clearly what was a battle pass, you have to pay. I had the exact number and I forgot to write it down, but I believe it's $120 to get everything.
What?
Yeah. And there is also a very cool sniper rifle that only exists in Halo Wars 2, and they talk about it in a lot of the novels. It's a huge part of the famous character Sergeant Johnson in the first Halo. His like prequel novel, it's a huge part of it was that he was using this like very high powered rifle, and then some incident occurred with it. So it's like something that Halo fans have always wanted.
Yeah.
But it's like never been brought to like an FPS game where you can use it, and they finally added it. If you want that sniper rifle, you have to pay $18 for it.
You're kidding.
I'm dead serious. But the monetization has been insane.
Yeah.
And it's like it feels incredibly content dry. They added one map. Granted, everything they added to Forge has been excellent. They added a bunch of Covenant stuff. They added new AI scripting and stuff. People can do a ton with Forge, but they're kind of just asking the players to make the content. Like, here's a bunch of stuff for Forge. Go make it. Otherwise, we'll take $100 and with that sniper rifle, $38 from you, please. But I didn't know if you heard anything about that monetization. But even like outside of Halo, even by modern gaming standards, it's crazy.
You know what's crazy is that I'm sure if we went back to the old Forgot to Say podcast, I'm sure we were talking about microtransactions.
Sure.
And to say that it's any different now would be true, but only to say it's gotten so much worse.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I like new stuff. I'm willing to accept change. Mm-hmm. These are all cosmetic items, which is fine to charge for to an extent, depending on the type of game. I don't like it in single player games. I think that's very dumb, but that's a whole separate thing.
Yes.
But this is egregious. There's no other way to put it.
Yep.
And they're all sold through bundles, so you couldn't individually buy a part that you want. You had to buy a bundle, which is why that sniper rifle is $18.
Wow. So $18, but it comes with a lot of stuff you have no interest in.
It's not even... Okay, so normally it's like you get this weapon coating, but you also get this helmet, these shoulders. Like for $18, you get a whole suit of armor and the weapon. But for this, it's especially egregious, on top of it already being especially egregious, because it's only like a bunch of icons and stuff. And so much so that if you bought that whole bundle, you couldn't even equip everything in it at one time. The icons would override each other and you would be using other icons. So it doesn't even make sense to bundle all that together.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I feel there are times where as someone who plays games for a hobby, I feel almost like I have a defeatist attitude, because I see things like this, and I mean, monetization. Okay, so Halo, obviously, not a good look for them right now. Diablo 4, it's absolutely disgusting, and yes, I do play Diablo 4, but the shop is insane. I mean, a horse skin is like $20 for That's crazy. Horse skin. You barely ride the horse.
Yeah.
Anyway, Suicide Squad, I know, has unbelievable monetization inside of a game that, you know, already costs a, you know, AAA new game price.
Yeah.
And I look at it like it's not ever going away, and that bothers me. But again, defeatist attitude is like, oh well, it's here now. Now what?
Yeah, when we first got cosmetic DLC, you know, obviously everyone goes back to horse armor from Oblivion.
Yep.
I had an issue with horse armor being $5, yes, but for the most part, I didn't hate the trend of cosmetic DLC, because as far as I saw it, when an artist is finished on the initial work for a game, at least at that time, when DLC wasn't as prevalent, it's like they either move on to another project or they don't have a use for the artist anymore and they cut them.
Yep.
So cosmetic DLC, to me, the way I initially viewed it was like, this is good. This
100%.
Is creating more work, and I'm happy to support that if it's something I'm interested in.
And even if it's not good, it's at least tolerable.
Absolutely. But now, even in games I'm very excited about, like Persona 3 tomorrow, had DLC announced when the game was announced, you know? And that's stupid. It's all costumes from Persona 5, which, yeah, neat, but why are we pretending that extra work went into this and it justifies me paying for the extra DLC? It's just silly.
Yeah.
If it's something post-launch that the artists were working on, I'm happy to support it, but we're so far past that. It's not the same.
Yep.
You know?
Another topic, kind of tangentially related, but it's still related to my defeatist attitude. Did you hear about Spec Ops: The Line?
I did.
And how it's been delisted?
I did, yes.
Okay. So, and this isn't something we need to spend a whole lot of time on because it's really, a lot of it does boil down to contracts, and it comes down to archiving. It comes down to the debate of physical versus digital, and it looks like Microsoft is likely going all digital very soon, but I have not played Spec Ops yet. I always wanted to. I've heard it is just a brutal depiction of what, soldiers experience, and I would like to get that experience one day in Spec Ops. And now,
thank you for specifying.
I had to, because in my head I was like, oh, I just signed up for something I am not ready for. But right now, I think the only way, other than yar har har, is I think Good Old Games, GOG, still has it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last holdout. And they did, I think, say it's strictly because of music licensing, right?
Yeah.
And
I didn't see the specifics of it, but that is believable to me. Sorry.
No, that's it. And it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. It's weirdly, like, not depressed me, but it's gotten me down. Like, games that I haven't ever played could become incredibly difficult for me to play because of these licensing going away, or something just being delisted or pulled from shelves for any sort of publisher's decisions, and I have no control over it.
Yeah. I remember this being a thing with the Xbox 360 version of Deadpool. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, they immediately lost, like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but maybe it was distribution rights from Marvel or something to that extent.
Right.
And I remember it was still on shelves while I was working, and it was like getting pulled from stores and stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, at least people can still get a hold of this, but what happens when this stock runs dry,
And when it comes to music, if you're not getting contracts, in perpetuity or however they worded in the contracts, at some point, whether it's a year or 10 years down the line, this is no longer going to be, if it's a digital copy, it is no longer going to be available to anyone unless they already own it. And looking at games that feature music very heavily, like Hi-Fi Rush,
yeah,
I wonder what those contracts look like. Obviously, we'll never be privy to that, but they've got a lot of well-known artists and songs in that game.
Yeah.
Who's to say that Fiona Apple doesn't come back and say, oh, hey, it's been 3 years. Sorry. Either take it out somehow or stop selling the game.
Yeah. That's the advantage of being a company like Microsoft or Sony, is that oftentimes Sony specifically has like Sony Music.
Sure.
And it's like the artists have to sign with the label that gives Sony the right to use it in future titles.
That's
which I
a
think
good
something
point.
like Death Stranding is probably fine in that regard. And that's why I think Hi-Fi Rush might be fine in that regard too, because you see the track titles that come up every time.
Yes.
And underneath it like specifically, I forget the exact wording, but it's like Hi-Fi Rush soundtrack or something like that.
That's
so
a
it
good
seems
point.
like it's specifically made for the game, attributed to the game. It might be less of a rights issue than, say, the opening of Final Fantasy 15 that uses Florence and the Machines. You know?
Yeah. Good point. Well, hey, speaking of Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, what's that? No, just kidding. I'm
did
so
you-
excited. Yeah.
Did you play it?
I have. Do you want to just say exactly what we thought at the same time again?
Yeah, that worked so well last time.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead. What did you think of Hi-Fi Rush?
Okay. I want to be careful. I have notes on this. For the first time, I did a pros and cons list like you did.
Hey, all right.
I'm gonna put it out there as succinct as I can.
Okay.
If this was a combat / boss rush game that lasted about 4 hours, I would have played it. I would have platinumed it. I probably would be playing it again right now as we speak.
Okay.
But because there's so much dialogue, So much dialogue because there is so much platforming, which, by the way, is atrocious. 95% of the time, I played through the first 4, I think they call them tracks, stages, levels, if you will. I played through the first 4, and every time I got into combat, I had an absolute blast. I had a smile on my face. I was sitting there literally bouncing to the beat because that's what I found, helped me to get the rhythm down.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the combat ended, I wanted to hand the controller to someone else and say, please get me to the next combat.
Yes. On my cons list, there is I specifically wrote that platform positions can feel way too precise for the lack of control over the character.
Lack of control. And also with platforming being oddly large focus on the game. I mean, a good 30% of the game or so is platforming. And yeah, a very, very precise jumps. I felt, and maybe this was just me, I felt my depth perception at times wasn't working right because I swear I should have made that jump and I clearly didn't. But also, but also, there's no ledge control and no ledge grabs whatsoever.
Yeah, the game would absolutely benefit from a ledge grab because the biggest setback for platforming is that you have 2 forward moves. There is a jump, which is very, very, very limited in the amount of forward momentum you get. And then there's a dash, which is very heavy on the amount of forward momentum you get. So you either fall very short or way overshoot it.
Right.
There's very little middle ground. And it's like, there's that like famous picture of like how to double jump. Like, and there's like 5 different ways to get through the gap depending on when you would time the second jump. This is like specifically made for the people that wait until the last possible second for the second jump. Yeah. And I'm not that person. I double jump early, And it seems like for platforming, it locks you into one specific style of platforming. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the very few cons I have on the game. Yeah.
Yeah, so because I want to talk about how much I enjoyed the game, because overall I really did like it. I'm just going to rip through my cons list. Let's get the Band-Aid off.
Okay.
Platforming was big. I mean, really and truly, I hate it. It's not that I don't think it's great. I really hate the platforming. Yeah. It's frustrating.
I will say when it does the side view for platforming, it's slightly better, but not much.
Yeah, the occasional side view, and when you're on the rails, I actually thought the rail sections were fun.
Yeah.
I was okay with those. Just the normal platforming. The next was the sameness, the level designs, and again, I only got through 4 tracks, but I did kind of peruse some videos. But
I would push back on that. It does change up.
Change up. What about enemy variety?
Enemy variety is very slowly trickled to you, but yes.
Okay.
For the record, I am on the 7th or 8th level.
Nice.
So
all right.
I'm about twice as far as you.
So then I can say up to where I am, it feels very samey, but if it does open up, great. The dialogue, it tries so hard to be quirky and hip and funny. And there were a couple of times I got a little chuckle, but most of the time I was just trying to get through dialogue as quick as I can to get to the good part, to get to the combat.
Yeah. Caveat on this, 2 things I have, one on my pros list, one on my cons list. I only have 4 things on my cons list, and one of them says some humor is really bottom of the barrel. But on my pros list, I have the slapstick works great. So like when when the comedy is not dialogue, it works really well. But when the
almost like dialogue, Acme type comedy.
Yeah, but when the comedy is dialogue, it's not good.
It's not good.
Like it's like we love puns, am I right, guys? Or like it's just bottom of the barrel. Like it feels like a new writer. It feels like it was written online. It's not excellent. And to go along with that really quickly, not all voice work is equal in this game. Some voice performances are really good, some are really bad, and there's a noticeable gap between them, in my opinion.
Okay, interesting.
Is that something you didn't experience?
I didn't really notice that. No, were there any ones that stood out more than others?
I don't want to shame voice actors. They're trying to get by, man. I feel like this title was one that didn't have a super high budget, and I'm not saying that only high budget voice actors are good. but I feel like the disparity in talent between the people that have a lot of lines and the people that don't have as many is apparent to me.
Okay. Gotcha. So the last one that I had, and I'll admit I only learned about this when I was researching the game to prepare for this. So I didn't learn about it in game, but now that I know it, it bothers me. There's no issue, or I take no issue with games locking things behind beating the game, like in New Game Plus.
I know exactly what you mean. Yep.
In this game, there are a few things locked behind it that I think should be open from the get-go. Revisiting areas and stages.
Yeah.
So my experience, obviously, it's a rhythm game. It's a high skill game. You can actually get through it with just pretty much button mashing, but to become proficient at it is certainly a skill. And I did see my skill improve. I mean, when I started, and I actually have a full hour plus video on the YouTube channel. You can go watch it now if you want, or after the podcast, preferably. And you're going to see, as I complete fights, I have a D in timing just across the board, every fight. But today, I played it earlier today on my lunch break, and I have A's and S's. Like, I've improved pretty drastically because I'm sitting there bopping in my chair. But there are some fights where there were some extenuating circumstances and certainly some colorblind issues, which we'll have to get to at some point. But I died over and over again. And at the end of the track, you get an overall grade. And I'll have chorus, 1 through 10, A, B, and S. And then my overall grade is a C because I died 4 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to replay that because I know I can do better. Oh, I can't unless I beat the entire game.
Yeah, I'm not a particular fan of that.
Yeah.
Especially because later... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't mean to keep stepping on.
No, you're fine.
You get another partner, and that unlocks the ability to, get through specific doors and stuff.
Is that Macaron?
And then I see that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to go back and do that.
Yes.
Yeah. But then the option's locked from you, which is kind of doesn't feel good.
There's also, and these ones aren't as bad, but there's another difficulty, and we can talk about difficulty too. But then there's also something called the Rhythm Tower, which is a survival mode. That's what I want to play.
Yeah, but you had to beat it.
But I have to beat it in order to get to it.
Yeah, remember you looked up how long to beat when we found this, and there was a huge disparity between
11 hours. 11 hours for the main campaign, 62 hours for completion.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly, but yes. And I think a fault of it is like a lot of that stuff was added post-release because the game got unexpectedly popular.
Yep.
And so they allocated some resources to add that stuff. So it doesn't excuse it completely because today a new player doesn't know that, like you.
Right.
But it does, yeah. It doesn't feel great.
Yeah, it's the type of game, if you're going to give me a score which tells me this is something that I want to beat, then you need to give me a chance to do so without beating the entire game and finally going back to it. But I have talked long about this game, and we have several topics specific to the game I want to get to, but I want to hear your experience.
I want to bounce back to you in a second, but the Cliff Notes is, I think this is a super fun experience. It has a few downsides, but I think mostly when you walk away the next day when you're thinking about it, you're not really thinking about the cons because the pros are so high. So when you a year down the road, when you have a friend that mentions like, oh, I think I want to play Hi-Fi Rush, you'll probably end up recommending it because all the good stuff sticks with you for so long. But the Cliff Notes version it's an excellent, unique experience that you can probably play in batches and feel good. I mean, every level is about an hour to an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. You could just sit down on Monday after work and play a level. Then you sit down on Tuesday after work and play a level. That's pretty much what I was doing. I was playing this in hour and a half sessions, and it was super fun. But I'll talk more about it, but I want to, before you're off the hot seat, let's talk about the colorblind settings, because this is something I meant to ask you about System Shock as well, and I forgot.
This is a really weird topic for me, because you would think, as a gamer who is colorblind, I've known this since I was very young, people are often surprised to find out I don't use colorblind modes when I play a game. Never. I just don't. And I actually went into it a little bit in the video that I did for Hi-Fi Rush. It's the only reason is I am very plain when it comes to my games, and Stone knows this from the years that he's known me. I don't really do mods. I play the game as the game was presented to me by the developer. They put it in my hands and I say, thank you, I will go play now. And I just boot it up, and I'm very vanilla like that. And to me, colorblind modes, although beneficial, they take away from the vision, the artistic vision that they had when they were making the game. And I know it's going to look different. And so I have these glasses, right? I'm holding them right now. They're Enchroma glasses. They're the colorblind glasses. And actually the wonderful community around this channel went in together to get me these glasses. And the one reason I don't like wearing them, other than I just found out recently, it turns out the company is a big scam, but that's another topic altogether. One of the reasons I don't like wearing them is that it tints everything. So in order, I just put them on now. In order to make the reds pop out at me and the greens pop out at me, they saturate all other colors. So no matter what I'm looking at, it has a different filter over it. And I'm not seeing the world as I'm intended, if you will, to see the world. And I feel that way about the colorblind filters in games. I'm thrilled they have them, because there are people who have much more severe cases than I do that they benefit from this. But I prefer the original vision. What I was running into, 2 examples in this game. Only 2 that I've run into so far. One is when they teach you how to parry and the drones are shooting at you and they have their little reticle that lines up. Whatever 2 colors they use, one for the circle and one for the beat circle that like closes in on it.
Yeah.
To me, those were too similar and I would miss it way too often.
Yeah, they were like light pink and light blue, I think.
Okay. And for some reason, to my eyes, they just, I was not getting that. And I was dying at one point repeatedly to a single drone. And I'm like, wait, but I thought I have the timing. Like I'm sitting there bopping to the beat. And it was because it was a drone that was actually going off beat. And I probably could have gone with the audio cues, but I was trying to follow the ring and I couldn't get it because I couldn't see when they were truly like overlapped.
Yeah.
And the other one that caused some consternation, if you will, was Macaron, one of the helpers you get who lets you like bust through walls and whatnot. There's a level where you have to outrun these lasers behind you. And there's a section where you have to get him out quickly to knock down a rock, but you have to time his as well. And his circles are a similar color. And I kept failing that section probably 3 or 4 times before I finally got it. But the circles were too similarly colored. And if I had switched to the Protonopian colorblind filter, I probably would have been fine.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to just go in without the crutch, but I completely understand the reason that you're saying that, yeah. That also reminded me of a quick side note. I hate that Macarons is one you actually had to actively engage in. It seems to break up the flow of platforming so often. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's no real reason why you should fail. Right. I'm just trying to knock down an object.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah. That was another con I had. But yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. It does kind of stink that like how do you help somebody without taking away from the experience? It's very difficult, especially if the people making it themselves are not colorblind. That's an additional issue. You know, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Right.
It's tough. It's a tough balance to strike. It stinks not having that experience. And you would think with the overlays and everything they have being so big and they like pop and there's a ton of effects, that there would be some better physical way to display it. That would be, you know, maybe not need the use of colorblind settings, but it stinks.
I think the answer really is just I don't know if it's not really a pride thing, but I think I just got to get over it and then just embrace it, you know, instead of saying, no, I don't need this. Just say, hey, maybe in this case I do. Put the filter on. I can turn it off later if I really don't want it, but just put it on and see if it makes an improvement. And if it does, then it's worth it, because I was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And I'm one who doesn't typically let games get to them because I know that games are supposed to be here for my enjoyment and my relaxation.
Yeah.
But I was getting frustrated. And instead of just turning on the filter for all of 5 minutes, I just beat my head against the wall until I finally got through it through brute force. And so I might have a sound reasoning in your mind. In my head, I'm being stubborn and bullheaded just because it's not what the developers wanted for me. But they obviously did because they put the filter in.
Yeah, you can be both. It's fine. Actually, really quick, did you see the colorblind settings in Tekken 8?
I did. I almost brought them up. Yeah.
They are gnarly.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Just go ahead and tell me you hate colorblind people and just leave that mode out of it.
They are gnarly, man. I would suggest people look it up, but if you were motion sick, don't.
Yeah, or the flashing lights or any sort of sensitivity to anything like that, no. Just avoid that altogether.
Okay, sorry, back to the game.
Yeah, to the game.
Completely valid. Yeah, I saw that there were those settings. Another great accessibility setting. It's kind of not for anything specific, but if you're a newcomer to rhythm games, there's like a metronome if you hit the select button that you can get to constantly have on screen. Did you use that?
I did not.
Okay.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what difficulty did you play on, if you don't mind?
Just whatever the default
standard,
is.
Normal. Okay.
Yeah.
So I bumped it up one. I went to the second hardest. I'll be honest. Other than the moments I just mentioned, I had no issues with the game.
Sure, but I'm just saying you always.
Oh,
always go for the hardest.
But I didn't go for the hardest difficulty.
Right.
I was like, no, because I don't want to get stonewalled. I need to have something to talk about on Thursday.
Yeah.
So I went one level below the hardest, and I think it's disabled in that mode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I first played the game, I elected to have it on, but I found that I was just getting more paranoid than it was helping. And then so this time playing it, I turned it off and just kind of listened for the music, and everything was going a lot better for me.
Nice.
But I think there are some people out there that would benefit from it.
Oh,
some
yeah,
people
certainly.
can't exactly visualize and keep the beat,
Yeah, and it's with the accessibility. Two other features that I saw. One that I did use, one that I didn't. One of them was, I think they made it so there was only one combat button.
Oh,
So it was single button input. You no longer were trying to do combos. It was just, hey, if this is too much for you, just hit this one button to the beat as best you can.
That's very
we'll
cool.
get the yeah, right. Thought that was pretty neat. And the other one, it's not so much accessibility, but it does keep people like me from getting in trouble. They have a streamer mode, which is always nice to see.
Yes. So that would change the copyrighted music
Yep.
to be in-house music.
Yep. So for my recording, I had it on, which was great. And then as soon as I was done recording, I turned it off to hear, the actual licensed music they wanted me to hear.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything spectacularly different.
No, I didn't notice a jarring difference. No.
Yeah. This is somewhat related too. Do you have experience with rhythm games other than this?
Not of this style. I mean, I did. I'm an '80s kid, born in the '80s. So at some point in my college career, I definitely played a lot of DDR. Definitely played a lot of Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But I will say, probably the closest to this, and some people look at me like I'm absolutely crazy. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is a rhythm game. It just doesn't have the music that you have to follow. But when you get into these battles and these boss fights, especially against like Sword Saint Ishin or Genichiro, they have a pattern to them. So I actually found myself sitting there learning the fights, going 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 4, and they go to this certain pattern, this certain beat, and that's when you're supposed to deflect their attacks. So I think that Sekiro is From Software's rhythm game.
Okay.
And
argument acknowledged and approved.
thank you for listening. But that's actually how I became, in my mind, proficient at the game, was treating it as such. Madam Butterfly, a boss you can fight pretty early on.
Yeah.
She has some very long combos, and if you can parry them all, you deal incredible stance damage to her. So as a beginner player, I would sit there, and sometimes she has like an 11 hit combo. but it's all like do 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 do. And I could sit there and learn the beat, learn the rhythm, and just hit there and perfectly deflect every time because of the pattern. So
That's great.
that's my take.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just
What
asking.
what about you? Any rhythm game experience?
Lover of Patapon. The
Okay.
Patapon series is great. It is very much in this style, I think. I mean, there's a border around the edge of the screen in Patapon. Do you know Patapon?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Never
Okay.
played, but I know about it.
Yeah, you just have you command a small army of tribespeople that will listen to your commands depending on what song you play for them. So like X, square, triangle, and circle are all different notes. And then like, for example, I forget if this is exactly it, but like X square means move forward. And you have to do it on the beat and for them to do it most efficiently.
Okay.
But you can just listen for the beat because they'll chant and they have like a little drum. Or you can look at the edge of the screen, which is lit, and will flash on the beat every time.
Okay.
But when I was playing this, I would just instantly flash back to Patapon.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I never played it. I didn't actually realize that it was a rhythm based game, but
I
that's
love
pretty
Patapon
cool.
to death. It's one of the best PlayStation games, if you ask me, which is not on people's top 10 list often. But still. Okay, back to this.
Yeah.
So the action, the combos, is that what did it for you then?
Well, I was gonna talk about the combos.
Okay, go for it.
And it's not a bad thing. I don't think it takes away. I found myself almost never doing the combos that they were teaching me. Mm-hmm. Almost never. And I was getting, in most fights, I would end it with at least an S in time. And then, as I said, my timing was getting better and better. But I found for me doing 3 light attacks and then getting what do they call it? The perfect beat.
Yeah.
When the reticles line up, that, by the way, those colors, they didn't mess me up at all. Those were fine.
Yeah.
But I would very rarely use heavy attacks. I didn't find a benefit. I found that just using my magnet hook to get to an enemy quick, and then a bunch of light attacks, and then a perfect hit, occasionally doing some air juggles. But I look at the combo list, and especially the ones that you can purchase eventually when you unlock that option, and immediately what comes to mind, and this might be way off because I don't have the experience you do, but I think of Devil May Cry, where it is flashy and it's fun, but it's unnecessary for you to actually progress.
Yeah, Devil May Cry, I think it's a little bit more necessary, yes.
Okay.
But I agree with you. When it came time to spend my money on different abilities or items, rarely did I ever take an attack. And
Were
if
you
I
buying
did, it was
items?
an attack for my partner. Yeah, it was items nonstop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
what I found as well. And it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's hey, don't have combos in here because I'm not going to use. No,
Yeah.
I just found that I didn't need them. But if I wanted to get fancy, occasionally I try to throw in, a heavy combo or an air juggle, and it looked cool. It didn't do anything progression wise.
Yeah. This game is very clearly low floor, high ceiling. I'm nowhere near the ceiling, so I was not throwing in combos. One thing, this is the last of the cons that I have written down, when you can call in your partners to assist you. It's just really quickly you tap the right trigger. I hate that you can't control the target that they're attacking. Because so often they would just whiff completely.
Yes. Yeah. I did notice that with Macaron again. Because he has a power punch, he's good at taking down shielded enemies.
Yeah.
And I would call him into a group of enemies, 2 of them very clearly holding big old great shields. But no, let's go ahead and get the guys with the swords to the left of them. Thanks for that, Macaron.
And also, like, if someone with a shield was around me, if I was fighting somebody else, but I knew someone with a shield was down. Sorry, I mean the projectile shields that Peppermint has to break.
Yep.
I would call her in, expecting her to attack that person with that shield, but they were off screen, so instead she's targeting the person I'm fighting.
Yeah.
And now I have to wait for the cooldown to come back up to call her again, and it got really frustrating. It's like, I need to rely on these people to continue in combat. It's not even like there's an alternate to get around that. but also they're not prioritizing it. And then I punished and I have to wait for something completely outside of my control.
Yep.
It's tough.
It is. It is. And, if they just had some sort of priority system, so like, for example, Peppermint, if there is an energy shield, that's what she's going to focus on. Yeah. If there is an armored enemy, Macaron's going to focus on that enemy. A simple implementation like that would have gone miles.
And sometimes it's like, what are we doing here? Like, you're just putting an unnecessary R press between me and the combat. Sometimes. I don't think that's always the case. But sometimes it'd start a pretty minor combat just in the middle of me walking up a building or something, and it's 3 shielded enemies. And it's like, okay, I know how to press R. Like, can we just move on to where I can do the combos and they're attacking me and it's like a lot more interactive? But really, that's the downside of combat. Everything else in combat felt good. There was good movement. The dodging feels satisfying. The parry window is very generous.
It is very.
I don't know if that changes on the difficulty, but parrying still felt good. The combos feel fun to execute. Trying to chain grounded attacks to aerial attacks is fun, but really you end up falling back on the same kind of combo over and over again. Because if it doesn't end in a finishing move, there's no real point in doing it because you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
But there's good combat puzzles too. Like when you get later in the game where they're introducing a lot of variety to enemies, I'm sure you may have encountered this because you just got the parry if you did that part with the drone.
Yes, yeah. I've had parry for a couple of stages, I think, now.
Yeah, so you'll come across enemies that will lock you into almost like a parrying battle.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And they're like fun combat puzzles to have to solve in the middle of it. And if you fail it, it's not the end of the world, but you're dragging out combat longer than necessary.
Yeah. No, the combat's fun. And like you said, I think your description of low floor, high ceiling is dead on. I think I understand this game and can play it rather well, but no one's going to take a clip of my combat and be like, yeah, see this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm proficient. I probably do more fights flawless than I do take hits. Mm-hmm. Great. But they don't look good. They just work.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's what I was going for. I'm not going for all these combos. But like you said, with all of this currency you get, I haven't bought a single combo. I have bought the chips, which just give you some minor stat boosts or some minor ability boosts or cooldowns. I have bought extra parts to upgrade like your life or your what's it called? Not Zen gauge. Rift gauge?
I'm gonna say yes, but I don't remember.
One of those, with like your superpowers and all that, or your super abilities. Which, by the way, the supers are pretty much an instant win button. They are so strong.
Had the healing one equipped.
Oh, I didn't even unlock that one.
Yeah,
I didn't even unlock that one. No, I did. I love the guitar riding.
Oh yeah, that looked cool.
Absolutely amazing, and just locks the big enemies. You just carry them around the entire arena, racking up like 100 hit combo. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it feels it's Kingdom Hearts but with rhythm,
Yeah.
It's big, it's flashy.
It's my headset, so Stone, don't talk yet. Let me fix that. There it is. I'm back.
Nice, welcome back. Okay, last quick thing on combat, then we'll move to other parts. Every boss kind of has their own unique gimmick, and I think it makes it feel a little bit fresh and new for every area you go into.
Yep.
Is that what your experience was?
I agree. It's they're gimmick fights, but not in a sense that Bed of Chaos in Dark Souls is a gimmick fight, or Dragon God in Demon Souls. They are fun and they're different, and they just, I don't know, it feels on brand for the game.
Yeah. Every different boss is a different personality and a different part of the company, and they integrate both of those very well into finding something unique for each of them.
Yes.
So the end of every level isn't, here's a very big boss I fight, like the first one.
Yes.
The end of every level is like, what am I going to unwrap? What's in the present this time,
I will say, of what I've seen so far, Rekka, favorite boss easily.
Yeah?
She was a blast. Absolutely a blast.
I really like the head of security, actually.
Okay.
Did you get that far?
Who do you remember the name?
She was the Irish lady.
Krista? Is it?
Yeah. I don't even remember.
Oh no!
We're so good at this. Yes, it sounds right. I think it had a K.
No, I think I was just
Corsica?
entering her
Corsica?
stage.
No, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, her.
Corsica. Yeah. No, I didn't quite get to her.
It's all Paris. The whole thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's so fun. It's just like a fun. It's just because it's unique. It's in the middle of it, and the entire thing is just the whole fight is just driving the story forward, and it's fun. It's interesting. It's cool.
I might actually have to play to get to that point.
Sure.
It's so difficult because I love this game. I recommend it just about without reservation, but to think about all of the platforming I have to do to get to the very short combat sections, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough. I had a little bit more tolerance for it. So much so that one of the things on my pros is that I really like the length of the levels. It doesn't always seem like, okay, this is where it's supposed to end. It's like, oh, we have more for you to play around with, so we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Or there's one or two where it's just been like very brief. And it's like, okay, we've shown you everything we wanted to show you here. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Which I like the level length personally.
No, I think the level length was good. I think the hour to hour and a half, sit down and you can blast through all of it in 60 to 90 minutes, I think is great.
Yeah.
My one, I already mentioned the dialogue. It was too much and too over the top. One section that I was like, oh my gosh, please end. You fight Zanzo.
Yeah.
You have to deplete his money. And in order to do that, you have to keep going through these virtual reality rooms. And I thought those were a slog because it was like, and I timed one. One was almost 3 minutes of dialogue and transitions, knowing full well I'm just going to go into a battle. Like, just let me go fight your robots and then defeat your VR because I know I have multiple of these rooms to get through.
It was a fun, unique mechanic to make like the budget his health bar.
That was cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it did overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. I thought that was very unique. So if you've never played it, you need to deplete his budget so he can no longer basically try to kill you. But at some point, he's just like building volcanoes, a bigger volcano, 2 volcanoes. It's like, dude, it's just it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Yeah. I agree. But one thing I want to talk about, well, what did you play this on?
Oh, I played this on PC. I bought 1 month of Game Pass Ultimate just so I could play this through the Xbox app.
Okay. I played this on the Series X. It was phenomenally well performing.
Mm-hmm.
It felt incredibly well optimized for the console.
Yep,
I'm happy that's your experience as well.
I can say the exact same.
Yeah, very little slowdown. Some cutscenes were at a lower FPS, but that seemed intentional. Like, because it's supposed to look like a cartoon to me.
Yeah. And you think a game like this, it has to run buttery smooth because everything is based on the beat, the rhythm.
Yeah.
That entire game, everything flashes and pulses and life around you lives and breathes by that beat.
Yeah. And it seemed like it was like super, super well optimized.
Yes.
I didn't encounter any hitches. There was no noticeable slowdown to me whatsoever. Transitioning between areas. I mean, how great was it when you go through the fog and it transitions to a new area behind like the fog is a loading screen?
Yep.
It felt like so full of personality and like nothing interrupted the flow of the gameplay. When I sat down to play this game, I was playing this game. I was in it and nothing outside of it was bothering me. It was just a great, full, fun experience. I knew when I pressed play on it, it was going to run just fine. I wouldn't have to tweak settings or anything. It was just going to go well. And that was a consistent experience no matter what level I was on, what battle I was doing. I could only blame myself for messing up. But I'm glad to hear that's the case on PC as well.
It was. I didn't have a single, even when I was recording while playing at the same time, I didn't see a single hiccup that I can recall.
Did it turn your room into a furnace?
No. Well, I don't know. So I'm down in the basement and it's not very well insulated, so it's already a little cool. So maybe the fact that I was comfortable was telling.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know how like I believe you that it runs well. I didn't know how performance intensive.
I didn't hear the fans revving all that much.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad to
No.
hear it. It's nice that a game released in this state and hasn't needed much tweaking since. And graphically, it's great. I mean, I didn't really see any shortcomings. The fact they went with this great, super stylized cell shading, and the cutscenes are like a Saturday morning cartoon, it didn't really leave you wanting for much.
No. I thought the game, it looked great. Like you said, it played really, really well. And you just, talked about a game releasing in the state. Also, I think it's really incredible that this game, other than, I guess, the image and the logo leaked the day before, otherwise, this game was announced and released at an Xbox Bethesda event on, I think, January 25th of last year. Or was it June? Was it January or June?
January sounds more correct.
January, okay. They just came out and said, hey, look at this really cool new game that you've never heard of. Oh, by the way, go download it. Oh, by the way, if you have Game Pass, it's completely free.
Yeah, and it was January because while we were playing, I was getting the anniversary items.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yes, that was coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it almost felt like a shadow drop, and you could see when we chose the game, I play the trailer usually, the official trailer, and even in the trailers they were joking around like the people that made it have no experience in this whatsoever. I don't remember exactly now. I think it's the people that made. I don't even want to say it because I might be wrong, but like
It's the
Dying Light and Dying Light 2.
Evil Within 1 and 2,
Evil Within,
and
that's what it
Ghostwire
is.
Tokyo.
Yeah.
And
now,
then
Ghostwire
this.
Tokyo was a big action game.
Yes.
But like for the most part only dealing with like horror and surreal, and this is like a fun, colorful, upbeat,
Very lighthearted. Yeah.
yeah. The lighting, I mean, it's like baked in a well that's like highlighting interesting points in the level. The level design is like fun and expansive. It's great that there's always arrows pointing the right way, so you know where to go the wrong way when you want to look for all the items.
And I do like the fact that was just in the environment.
Yeah.
It was a lot more organic. You would find a little sign or like a wet floor sign that had an arrow, and you knew, okay, I go that way. But you're right. If you want to find all the collectibles, of which there are quite a few.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not collectibles, but there are a lot of upgrade items and some collectibles off the beaten path. Some are well hidden. I finished the last stage, and I thought I was pretty thorough. And then when I went back and checked the stats, I missed 4. I missed all 4 of one particular upgrade item. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I found that to be my experience as well. I was like, wow, I thought I was doing okay, but I guess I wasn't. But then I also don't know what was hidden behind those like firewalls or stuff you had to break with Mac much sooner.
That's fair. That's fair.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was doing some research. The game has been nominated an absolute ton of times. It was nominated at the Game Awards this past December. I mean, it was nominated for 5 different categories. It only won in a single one, the audio design, but nominated for a bunch. Golden Joystick, it won Sound Award, or excuse me, that was the CEDECs. The upcoming DICE Awards, they have some pending. The Developers' Choice Awards, they have some pending. So obviously well received. As of August, they had recorded 3 million players, but then they're not differentiating between those who purchased and those who played on Game Pass.
Right, because I'm sure the majority of them came from Game Pass.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts this game exists at all.
Yes.
But then on top of it, that it is really, really high quality.
Yeah.
I mean, I love every time a cutscene comes on, I'm like, oh, can I just put down the controller? Like, do I have to be holding it for this? Can I just watch? The squash and stretch is so fun. I mean, I don't know, it looks good. It transitions well to different things, to like the different environments you move between or upcoming fights, or sometimes entire fights just take place in the cutscene. And it's like just so fun to sit back and watch it. You just feel like you're watching a show.
Yeah, the last fight that I had at the end of stage 4, if I had skipped the cutscene, all of a sudden I would have been back at the hub because the fight takes place only in the cutscene. Yeah.
But it's fun to watch. You don't feel like you're missing out on much. You're like, I earned being here.
Yep. No, I agree. I think we are very well aligned on this game. I maybe have a bigger problem with the platforming that you do. I guess it's a necessary evil. I guess it felt like padding to me.
Yeah,
on
I
an
get that.
otherwise really good just action combat game.
Well, the other thing is you feel that platforming immediately.
Yes.
Like once you get past the combat tutorials and stuff and you pop to the top of that building in the first thing and you have to double jump to the first platform and you whiff, it doesn't feel good when you start. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I will offer very little pushback on that and say that my experience was slightly different, but not much, you know?
That's fair.
It just bothered me less. But one last thing I have on my pros list we haven't talked about. The story is always moving forward.
Okay.
I mean, it's not an insane, groundbreaking story. It's pretty bog standard, but for the setting and feeling like you're just watching a Saturday morning cartoon, it's perfect for what it needs to be. But every single level, I feel like I'm working toward the next thing in the story. I know the end goal. I know the increments I have to accomplish to get to the end goal. And I never feel like it's some dumb padding or side part that I'm not interested in at all. It always lets me drive forward in service of the main narrative.
Okay.
And I feel like that increased the feeling that it's an action game, you know?
You are so much more in tune with nuanced story beats than I am.
Oh, it's just that I'm impatient.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fair. No, the way you analyze the stories in gaming and movies and really just every aspect of life. Anytime I hear you break down a story, I just kind of smile and nod and go, yeah, what he said, probably. I don't know. I thought it was cool to look at.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like such a caveman next to you when you, and that's a good thing. Like, it's not a dig at all.
Sure.
I just, to me, listening to the story play out in Hi-Fi Rush, I didn't get a sense of pace, which maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I
think so, because it is always moving forward. You don't notice the pacing because it feels like you're making the pacing, which I think it speaks to how excellent the pacing is in it.
I did appreciate the fact that we were basically Iron Man, just with an MP3 player instead of an arc reactor.
Sure. It's fun. I mean, it's just fun. It's goofy. It's fun.
Yes.
It's not taking itself too seriously. There's even little tiny cutscenes that play between you and the cat companion 808 in the middle of combat. And they're just like little goofy animations. It's like, oh, that's fun. I like that.
Also, those are somewhat randomized. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool to see. Speaking just of story and of it not taking itself seriously, have you read about the plot or how it all plays out, or are you still playing through it?
I'm planning on finishing the game.
All right. Yeah. Then I'm not going to say anything because I read the ending and I'm just sitting here chuckling to myself, like, okay, that works for this game.
Yeah, I'm
just put it that way.
Planning on going back and finishing this game because, like we said, it's like an hour and a half hit. After work, I'm drained. I'm just going to play for an hour and then I'm relax and watch a TV show or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask for a big investment of your time, and I feel like it stops frequently enough that it's fun.
Yep, I'm not going to make the guarantee that I'm going to. I would like to, because especially if you're saying that, the levels start to open up diversity-wise, and there's some really other cool boss fights, I want to experience that. Right now, it's just a matter of my limited time, a lot of stuff coming on the horizon, and with these games, or with this particular game, having those sections that to me are just bogging it down, it's harder for me to just pick it up and devote an hour. But I would like to.
The next area you're going into is the most platforming heavy. So honestly, and
get through that, and then it's all downhill.
Maybe that I've gotten to so far, I should say.
Okay.
With the caveat.
Okay.
But what I would say is, honestly, if you think rhythm games aren't for you, I still think this is a really good entry point. But if you don't have Game Pass or something, then don't stress about it. But this is something I would probably be just as content watching it all on YouTube, just because it looks like a full-on, fully animated, high-budget show.
Sure.
So if you're like not interested in finishing, like the platform is just not for you, I would probably be just as content watching it.
I did think that a speed run of this might be kind of cool.
I watched a speed run of this. I believe it was GDQ last year, or it was SGDQ last year, but it is a lot of out of bounds clipping. It was super fun, and I don't remember it entirely because I knew I eventually wanted to play it, so I didn't watch the whole thing, but the high ceiling is very well shown off there.
Well,
pretty much
good news.
every single dash was like triple dash. Like their timing is on point, and it's like a lot of out of bounds movement.
I found myself doing that towards the end. Just every time instead of running, I was triple dashing.
yeah, I got that too. Yeah.
But looking at speedrun.com for Hi-Fi Rush, they actually do have a restricted glitch category.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And the any percent is actually 2 hours. That's a long any percent run for a game that's only technically an 11-hour game.
Yeah.
I might take a look at that later.
It's pretty lengthy as far as that goes, but I understand why. You still have to go through every level. I don't know that there's probably a level skip in it.
Right. No. Probably not. So I enjoyed it. I really did. I know I probably spent more time talking about the things that I didn't like, but it's a beautiful game. It's fun. It's lighthearted. The combat is very, very satisfying. I did enjoy watching my skill increase. Yeah. That's something that, I could actually, in a way, quantify, which not every game does. So watching myself go from a D to an A and sometimes even an S was incredibly encouraging for me.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It was great.
Yeah, and I think we kind of also said, like, what's great about the game is you will never consciously know what's great about it. The game plays incredibly well. It's super well optimized. The story is just moving alongside you. You're getting quickly into the action. It's not holding your hand too much, but some stuff like the parry window is very generous. It's like all underlying stuff. It's like sitting in a very comfortable sofa.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't think about it when you're in it. You're just enjoying the show.
Great way of putting it. Any closing thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush?
I plan on 100% going back and finishing this. I feel that I'm almost halfway through the game. I very much enjoyed my time with it. I believe it lives up to the hype, but yes, so people know, some of the platforming is a bit of a shortcoming, but if you go in with the expectation of knowing that it's a mostly combat game, you're going to have a good time.
I agree. And even though the platforming was a big letdown for me, the smile that I had on my face anytime I, fought through 3 waves of enemies and get in an S score, and I felt good about that, it speaks for itself. Yeah. Fantastic game. Really and truly.
Great. I'm really happy you enjoyed it.
Yes.
And it's great that we played a big Xbox title after discussing that maybe they didn't have it last week.
They at least have Hi-Fi Rush. We can put that to bed.
Yeah. Okay. That's a wrap on this episode, but let me ask you.
Okay.
Do you have your list for next episode?
Sure don't.
No?
No. I don't even know what category I'm going to go for yet.
I do. And now that you said this, I'm maybe scared of what I picked.
Uh-oh.
But I have all platformers lined up in the next one.
Bring it. Bring it. Because I love platforming. And maybe that's why this one just didn't speak to me as much. I love platforming. When the platforming is good and tight and responsive and has a ledge grab, it's great. So make sure all of your games have ledge grab.
Okay,
magnet hands.
Just going through here, ledge grab.
Wait a minute. I just realized. Sometimes in platforming, oftentimes, ledge grab is called magnet hands. Our character in Hi-Fi Rush literally has a magnet hand. And has no ledge grab. Ugh.
Come on, guys. Get it together.
Come on. No, I'm very excited for your list. I'm excited for my list. I just have to make it.
My emphasis was like, I wanted to be able to describe things differently this time.
Ooh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's going to be like, mine's going to be more of a menu than it was in previous installments, Do you want this level challenge? Do you want a 3D, 2D, that kind of thing?
I want you to present it as if you're like a 2 Michelin star restaurant then.
Yeah. We recommend to start.
Please watch the menu and then channel your inner Ralph Fiennes and present it to me.
It's paired best with.
And my list will also happen next week.
If it doesn't blow my socks off, it doesn't matter because I will only be playing Persona anyway.
Oh, shoot, that's right.
Yeah. You know what? The game for next week.
So I have an idea. Why don't we do Persona 3 Reloaded for next week?
Excellent. Yeah.
And I will sit there and listen for an hour and a half.
Nobody wants to hear that. The people that, like I said, Persona's like one of the most annoying fan bases. The people that don't want to hear it, like the people that don't play it don't want to hear it. And the people that do play it have such divided opinions already. They don't want to hear your opinion anyway.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick the longest, most tedious game list I can find.
Yeah.
So you have to devote time to that and not Persona.
I
Perfect.
dare you, because you only find stuff in my realm. You will
Shoot.
not find a 30 to 50 hour action game that is not
Final Fantasy
RPG.
13 2.
I actually have interest in that because it is
Dang it.
like Majora's Mask. It's on a timer, like a 3-day system.
I didn't know that. I just
that'd
threw
be
something
fire.
out.
Throw up 13-2. Never played it.
All right. We need to shut up so I can start coming up with my list. All right.
Okay, great. Love that we had a good time with Hi-Fi
Yes.
Rush. Another good week. Looking forward to see what you cook up for the next week. Great game. Super recommend you guys play it. But please, these platformers I've written down are not set in stone. For pardon the expression. Feel free to suggest things in the comments.
We're getting some good ones.
And in the Forgot to Save Discord, which was popping today.
It really was.
I did light a bit of a fire. It's all engagement bait. but a lot of great games came up. And I will say, in fact, one of the games on this list is not one of my recommendations.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm going to have to go digging through and maybe get some inspiration then.
Sure. Sounds great.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been Forgot to Save. We had a blast with Hi-Fi Rush. You will too. Don't forget to join the Discord. Keep up with us outside of episodes. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks so much for listening. Stone, thanks so much for hanging out.
Yeah, always great to hang out with you, Blue. I had a great time. Great episode.
Yes. And
right, high fives all around.
High fives all around.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Oh, no? Okay. All right.
Cut it.
We'll see you next time.